Welcome to being here for our customers, partners, friends, what have you. A lot of people gathering here, and that makes me really excited. Also being available online. I know that people are watching right now and will watch later on. I counted, I think they cross even 17 time zones between the west coast of Canada to all the way down to Korea, so that's great to see. What I would like to do with you today is give a bit of the state of where we are today as Vanenburg and give some directions how we look to the logistics industry and basically also the solutions we are offering there. So I think every company these days will become a software company. That's a quote which is already used for many years. Every company being an IT company, being a software company. And that's basically also what we see around us. Every company which is using software not only for the backbone, not only for the back office, but really to fundamentally drive business and to differentiate themselves from others in the industry. And that's where we as Vanenburg will and want to play a role. So we really believe that companies can differentiate themselves, they can grow faster, they can outperform peers in the industry if they are modernizing their enterprise IT. And we would like to play a role in that, being the guide, being the expert, knowing a bit of the old. So yes, today also we will, in the story of Jan, hear a bit of the past days from enterprise systems, the today, where we are right now, but also a bit of the new, the innovative stuff. Not because we love technology. Yes, we have a lot of what we call tech lovers in our family, in our business. Not because technology is so cool, that's not why we are in this business, but how we can apply it in the context of really driving business value. So driving top line revenue growth and driving really bottom line results to improve them. So that's where we would like to play a role in improving businesses, making sure they can embrace new business models, as well as how they can detect new revenue streams. And in fact, as we are looking to Vanenburg where we are today, well, it's pretty an interesting time frame, I have to say. And I will come back on some of the trends we see around there in the market, but we see a lot of momentum. A lot of momentum for things around us in our technology domain, a lot of momentum in our partner ecosystem. We will elaborate a bit more on the partners later on. And that's coming together in a lot of what we call demand, where we see a lot of demand for our solutions. So yes, I already was mentioning we are pioneers, so we love to apply that technology, but especially build upon an heritage of innovation and in the context of the business of today. It's great to have a stable company, but it's also very nice to see that we increase the momentum with a 30% more year-over-year growth, while investing at the same time a lot in technologies and a lot in products. So in the past years, you've seen us active in many projects, in many services, and nowadays we are repackaging and rebuilding those lessons learned into what we call really our products, our solutions in the industry and in the logistics domain. And that's where not only for driving this company in terms of growth, but also we are investing in what we call preparing for the next phase, for the storming phase. We are proud to do that with a bunch of employees based here in Putten, but our team is crossing also Canada, Americas, in France, in India, and in Korea, where we have now more than 165 employees. And in fact, we have quite extended that team lately because of these two reasons, for the demand we are seeing, but also because of our commitment towards our products. And we are very proud to be serving more than 80,000 users on a daily basis with our solutions. So sometimes it's a smaller customer, but sometimes these are really used at scale for a lot of business enterprise needs. And as being the tech lovers, we also ask ourselves, and we are committed to technology. That means we are committed to certifications and to making sure that we embrace and really empower our customers with the latest technologies. So that's where also internally we spend a lot of time in making sure that we not only understand these technology trends, but also are certified, are trained around these technologies. That goes with the new technology platforms such as Google, ThinkWise, but also that goes when it comes to security. So that's why we're committed to our security aspect as well. So what's our view on the logistic market? Well, the theme of today is modernizing logistic IT. And it's not just like transportation, so not just shipping boxes from A to B. Our view on the logistics market is much broader. I think the logistics can also be tagged as for the heart of each and every company. So it's in fact about the entire supply chain. So it's about how you purchase, it's about how you produce, how you do the internal shipment, but also how you deliver to the market. So it's about the entire experience. And that's, I think, our view on and our team for today, not only just looking at containers or what's happening on the road, but especially look to this broader perspective of logistics. Well, a couple of the trends or a couple of things that happened in the past, what is it, 2-3 years? I'm not sure if you still remember those days where maybe you or maybe somebody else in the household was running for the stores and going for this toilet paper. Did we really do that? Yeah, well, some of us did at least, or at least our relatives did, because we had empty shelves. So that wasn't a thing we noticed. There was a challenge of shipping these small little glass bottles all over the globe in millions and billions of quantities, all these COVID vaccines. We were running out of all the materials which were sold out, all the masks, all the protective materials. We faced lockdowns impacting, well, shortage of lumber, shortage of chips. And due to the shortage of chips, we also had shortage of cars, shortage of kitchen appliances, shortage of what have you, laptops, screens. Oh yeah, and there was this little boat blocking some channel somewhere down in Egypt. And well, right now we face a war which is impacting a lot of the energy and the prices and the crisis around there. And because of the demand which is a bit cooling down, we see all of a sudden that all the warehouses, all the stocks is shooting through the roof. So just in 2-3 years, a couple of trends, a couple of things that happened around us. I think nobody really influenced them, or at least not from the people sitting in this room. But we had to deal with them. And they all had an impact, a direct impact on logistics, the way we ship, the way we sell, the way we store, where we were storing it. So I think the key message here is things and change is there, and maybe it's even reinforcing. So that's something we have to deal with. Well, then you hope that everybody is, of course, prepared for that. But at the same time, we speak to a lot of companies where we hear the same stories. And I'm not looking to anyone particular in this room, but we hear challenges when it comes to visibility and traceability of products and goods. Yes, you can trace them, but even only after packing, you can trace these kind of goods. But we don't have really a real-time control of all the changes. If a boat is not turning to Rotterdam, but moving to Antwerp, by the way, we don't get automatic alerts and we don't know really what's happening. So there's no real connectivity. At the same time, our flexibility and agility of when it comes to our internal processes, well, even often these processes are standardized, they're quite labor intense. But if suddenly there's a peak in e-commerce and there's a lot of people buying online because they are in the lockdown, or everybody would like to paint their own rooms, and they all order in the do-it-yourself stores, well, all of a sudden there's kind of a disruption, which causes major impact, and nobody is really prepared for that. So there's a lot of, this is the way we did things around here. Sometimes the companies are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, older. But how to deal with these kind of changes I just painted in the previous picture, that's quite a challenge. Let alone the shortage of employees. Lack of intelligence. Well, if you need to do and run your business only with spreadsheets and only with a system where you need to retype your information, or you don't have any smart algorithms, it's quite of a challenge. Let alone, are we really prepared for measuring our ecological footprint, and do we really know about sustainability of the entire value chain? Well, those are areas to further improve. And a fourth element I would like to quickly paint is the rising complexity of deliveries. Yes, there are sometimes legal requirements, customs asking for all kind of papers, especially nowadays with Brexit and what have you. But also the demand for just-in-time deliveries and the decreasing loyalty, that all sums up. So maybe as a company, you can easily deal with one of them. Because if you don't have that smart or intelligent operations, but you have enough people, well, okay, let's face it, maybe it costs a little bit to rise, but that's okay. Or if you have limited visibility, but the customers are kind of loyal, they don't go away, that pretty much is also okay. But what if you need to deal with two of these factors out of these four, or three or four? I think they're majorly impacting your operations. At least that's what companies are telling us when we talk to them in the logistics industry. Well, if you're all very much prepared as a company, then you don't have too many challenges. However, this was kind of shocking for me, and I showed this to one of my colleagues, and he said, these are the real basics, right? About doing your planning only with Excel, or manually retyping the data from one system to the other, or not having integrated system. That is kind of a challenge which is hindering how we deal with those kind of complexities around us. So that's, I think, the story I would like to paint. And our view on that is, how can you move towards that, what we call smarter, intelligent operations industry? So how can you move from where we are today in our Vanenburg 3-step model towards what we call Logistic 4.0. So first is about laying the digital ground foundation, making sure that you get insights, making sure that you fix the bottlenecks which are around there. So that's the first step. Just build a foundation first. As a second step, how can you connect? How can you collaborate? Connect with parties in the industry, with your customers, with your suppliers. How can you collaborate with others? And basically increase your efficiency and optimize your cost. And then as a third step, and I would like to highlight all of them in the next coming 10 minutes or so, how can you really enable that what we call intelligent operation, which is adaptive, which is reacting on events or even reacting before events are occurring and making sure that we influence events. And that's really what we call a smarter enterprise. So to start with the first one, how can we build your digital foundation? Well, one of the first steps is often how can you have an infrastructure which is, well, not static, but it can increase, it can decrease, which is secure, which is reliable, but also which can grow if the demand rises. So that is a challenge, how we can ensure that you have a good cloud infrastructure. Well, till today, companies like the Google infrastructure, they never have been hacked. So, of course, it might sound really secure to do it in their basement, but if you embrace these kind of concepts, cloud infrastructure, this will be much more reliable, much more secure. Things like digitization of documents. Now we'll come back in one of the next slides. How we do that by having our own UnDoc solution where we can get all this intelligence out of that document, which can then be used. But also, what about a fact-based culture? And making sure that you measure each and every fact. And when I say each and every fact, I really mean each and every fact. Not only the size of a box, the way you store your products, but all the measurements which can enable you in a later phase to apply this machine learning and intelligence, which I will talk about in a minute. When it comes to fixing bottlenecks, of course, there sometimes can be very disparate systems which are still there. So how can you then integrate? How you can then build portals, build applications, build dashboards to get that single view of all your data? And last point, if you're missing key functionality which are not there as part of your core system, I think we'll hear some of that later on from Amoda, but also from Newport stories. If there are no kind of standard functions for all the processes you have in place, how can you build and how can you adapt your systems in such a way that it's your unique system, which is really facilitating your process, which are different from all others in the industry. So just a couple of elements, and I think time is short to dive into each of them in a lot more detail, but just to paint the picture at very high level, these are a couple of elements where we can add value. Secondly, if you have that connectivity, or if you have that foundation, how can you add your connectivity? How you can collaborate with others? For instance, things like big data capturing. So, but then we talk about visual data or visual inspection, where you have cameras inspecting all your parts or cameras inspecting all your processes, or connect with the goods, connect with your freight, connect with your trucks, connect with anything in the Internet of Things. The second aspect, how can we link with business partners in such a way that sometimes APIs are exposed, or the old days we had the ADI, but now an web service connection can be exposed, or we build a smaller app on top of our core ERP, and that smaller app is then given to our suppliers or given to other parties where we don't expose our full system, but only we offer a channel for our partners so that they can access our data and they can do the data entry. Combine internal and external data, so combine data from your ERP with weather, with forecast, with sometimes even be window times, when can that truck arrive in that street, when can we, how to deal with ecological zones in the city, and what have you. And last also is collaborative tools for optimized human decision making. So ensure that people can, in a structured way, but also around unstructured collaboration, have all the tools at their fingertips so they can easily do their job as a planner, as an operator, as another expert, and having that data available. So just a couple of highlights. And then the third step, I need to rush, I think, a bit, is how can we really become what we call a logistics 4.0 enterprise? I think the term industry 4.0 or manufacturing 4.0 is coined, well, quite some time back. It's quite well known. We all went from the steam engine, then we went to mass production, then we went to automated production system, and now it's kind of what we call the fully automated industry 4.0. But logistics 4.0 is not so much a term which is fully already there in the industry and embraced, because then we talk about improved forecasting. then we know what our customers are asking, and we know, and we can even predict how to deal with and where the goods should go. We can simulate, so there are what-if analysis, we can do simulations, we can do trade-offs. Okay, if we decrease our prices, what will happen there? And that makes us then leading to data-driven decisions. So really have the data in our hand, not only because my gut feeling tells me, or this is the way we do things around here, and we always have done it like that. No, based upon data, I can make a well-informed decision. And that also means about managing your supply chain footprint, the entire supply chain, not only from the goods. Of course, we pretty much, if you're in logistics, we know how to deal with trucks which are a bit green, but how to deal with the entire supply chain, which in the end leads to what we call a supply chain control tower. Really have everything in your hands in one control tower where all this information is gathered, both from your internal system, from the external system, and which is then driving intelligence around there. So this all boils down to the fact that we as Vanenburg are mastering these 4 domains around applications. So it's about legacy application, legacy modernization, building cloud-native applications. Secondly, around data. I've given a couple of examples, collecting those data elements. Modern infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, and mastering things like integration, integrating different systems. That's what we learned and what we've been doing in the past with Cordis, but also these days how we are dealing with our partner, for instance, Google, which is having the Apogee platform. And we do that in a couple of industries, but that's where we are seeing on the left. So what are our propositions? First, I would like to start with the bottom elements here. Our Rapid platform and our Flow Create platform. Some of you might have known them under different names. Rapid means it was formerly known as our EVA platform or EVA product, which we're announcing as publicly available and general available today. So I'm very excited that with today we have that product not only as an internal tool where we use it ourselves a lot, because that's what we've been doing also the past years, but it's now publicly available for our customers, our partners, our clients to start building and accelerating application development. Next to that, Flow Create, or what we called Collabor, as our integration and micro apps platform to empower connectivity in the supply chain. So these are really our products where we as Vanenburg are heavily investing and are fully committed also in the future to drive them. On top of that, our pre-configured building blocks, shop floor or project cloud, which I will leave for now, but I will zoom into the UnDoc solution as I promised just in a little bit, because the UnDoc solution is really digitizing documents and get that intelligence out of those documents. And on top of that, we have our team, our committed team around the professional services. So doing analysis design, app development, data and machine learning operations, as well as move our customers and help them with the cloud migration journey and operate them at scale. So we are very happy that we don't need to do this ourselves. So that's why we work together with a lot of partners, or at least 3 partners, which we are very much have our expert on. So Google Cloud, Salesforce, and ThinkWise, which we use as the kind of toolkits and platforms. Vanenburg UnDoc, so that's the solution which we use a lot also in this industry for this document automation. We see it more as the kind of one of the base foundational elements. I pictured the digital foundation earlier in one of my slides. So I think this is a key element where we see how we can drive intelligence and get it out of those documents and use it in the context of our processes to capture the document, convert that into a digital format, making sure it's converted or can be verified by a human in the loop, and then have some dashboard out of that, which is not only something we do internally, but that's where we work together with a company whose mission is to digitize all the information in the world. Well, you guess who that company is, but we base it on the Google's AI and machine learning capabilities, because they have the great and the powerful tools. We take those building blocks and we wrap it around with our solution, and we offer that as a solution in the market for instance, Newport, but also for Hoek, where they are using it in the context of export and import documents, custom documents, invoices, and what have you. So I want to wrap up the story with how do we see and how can logistic companies be proactive but also benefit knowing all these trends which are out there, knowing all these challenges which are out there, but also taking benefit of the technologies which are available. Because the technology is available, the question is really how can you and how can we adopt it? Well, the benefits is that you can even improve your customer experience. So not only lower your internal costs, because internal cost lowering might be an interesting one, but how can you really improve your experience so that your customer knows what to expect, when it's coming, etc. And sure, there's resilience in supply chain. You don't just double up your stock everywhere, but you choose your stock location in a smart way because of you have those insights into this data, and that you then can plan in a better way. Green and sustainable, I already mentioned a couple of things about data which you can measure, but also adopt Google Cloud as by far the greenest cloud in the industry, which is quite some steps and miles ahead, I would say, from other cloud providers. And last but not least, the visibility in the operational autonomous operations. How can you, as a control tower, have that insight into what's happening and what's coming next, and then drive what we call analytics-driven decisions or support analytics-driven decisions. So this all sounds quite a journey, and in fact, it is a journey. It's not something which happens overnight. And let's be honest, I also need to be honest, that's not something which is realized in one day. And yes, that maybe is costing some blood, sweat, and tears, and what have you. But I think it's about taking the first single step and walking that path continuously, which is then in the end leading to more benefit. So every journey is starting somewhere and is taking one extra step to get closer to your destination. But we as a Vanenburg would like to meet where you are, and then would like to support you in that journey by accelerating your modernization journey. So with that, I just pictured the highlights. I know it's far from complete, but just as the highlights, some of the things we see in the logistics. So back to you, Daphne.
Thank you, Ardjan, for sharing about the journey and a single step which takes us further. We have time for one question out of the audience. So I'm curious, is there anybody who would like to ask a question to Ardjan? No questions? I do have a question. Because you say every journey starts with a single step. I can imagine also in this audience, there are people with different backgrounds if you look at the organization you're in. So if you would take an example of a more organization with a lot of legacy, how do you assess then that first step from your perspective?
I think that's a very good question, because it's not kind of starting with just throw away everything you have and let's start something new. I mean, the shop still open is today and tomorrow. So I think it's about respecting what is there, but at the same time, paint that dot on the horizon and then slowly start walking there. So making sure that what have you as a legacy can be opened up. So that's the first step, and making sure that your legacy can be part of your digital foundation. Maybe you slowly start kind of taking all that complexity out of that legacy, build your application, build your data around it, slowly reducing the the legacy system itself, which can over time be replaced. But the first step is not throwing it away, but respecting what's there and making sure that it's opened up so that you can add these extra steps on top of that.
Yeah, so you build upon what's there and the strengths you have, but then sort of take out the complexity that's not needed anymore.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. And then just one to take you along to the other side of the spectrum. You talked about the 4.0 logistics scene. If you look at one thing that excites you on that spectrum, what would that be? And that's what you want to share with the audience here.
Yeah. Well, that's a very nice example. It's not a customer of ours, so not yet at least. Lufthansa. So,
okay.
Maybe, who knows,
there's a wish here.
I really like that example.
Yeah?
Because if you look to Lufthansa, and what was critical for them is just to have the flights up in the air. Just have all the planes there. So the turnaround time for them on the ground is crucial. What they've done is, with help of the Google Cloud Platform, with help of the Vertex AI platform, they've done a lot of analysis of especially the wind conditions. And in this example, it was the wind, how that's going in Switzerland. So often in Switzerland, there's this wind coming from the northeast and then it's going through the west, I think. But there's this challenging time that this wind is really increasing. And then all of a sudden they need to change the landing conditions. And what they've done is taken all this Meteo Swiss data, billions of data points, used Google AI and Vertex AI to predict how that's impacting, and then proactively change the way these planes are landed and then ensure that the delays are reduced. So that's, I think, quite a big problem, but in the end it's boiling down to data, boiling down to how can you make it predict and then smarter and then reduce, have a better customer experience.
That sounds like an exciting one. So thank you. Thank you, Ardjan.
Thank you.
Yeah.